Welcome back to another episode of Yappy Yaar with hosts Himanshu Gautam.
And Vignesh Iyer. And we're back for real this time. We took a bit of a break there, but it's because we had to take time to think through the best way to get the best content to you guys. We're constantly thinking about it. You don't forget that, Like I feel like these days it's like, oh, you come in and out of our lives whenever you. Nah. We've just been thinking about you. That's why we are back with a mid-season series for you guys. We finished our season 1 episode with a bang. We did a long Bahubali type podcast with 3 parts, a magnum opus, right? And we left you wondering, where does the podcast go from here? Well, we're back with a mid-season series for you where we're going to do 3 episodes over the next month. Today is our first episode, and today we'll be covering all of the TV stuff that we've been watching because there's been a lot out there. And then a two-parter of 2 very special films, one that has come out in Rocky Rani Ki Prem Kahani. And that episode will be just a celebration of that film, of the people involved, specifically Karan Johar. And also we'll cover everything that you need to know about the film, what we loved about it, what we want to talk about, and what the conversation is about that film in particular and Karan Johar in general. And then we will do an episode, or final episode to close out the series will be Jawan. It's Shah Rukh Khan's second film this year. When was the last time he did 2 films in 1 year? And so it'll be a dhamakedar episode, guys. It's going to be incredible. So that is our mid-season series. And then we'll obviously do a season 2 when we come back for that. But before we get into all of that, we have some things that we'd like to catch up about.
It's been a while since we've, caught up on the pod. So question for you, Vignesh Iyer, is if you could describe your life in one word or phrase, what would it be? Why?
I felt like this year has been the most spirited year for me. I've had stuff thrown my way. There's been a lot of changes. I moved out of DC. I had to say goodbye to this life that I built there that I really loved, just because of how much it pushed me and the things that I was able to accomplish.
That you met.
People that I met. So saying goodbye to that, like ending and closing that chapter, the first adult chapter post college and all that. So it was that. It was moving to New York and pursuing something a little bit more creative. So yeah, challenging in all the right ways. I did a cross country road trip from DC, went up to New York, dropped the stuff off in the apartment, and then drove all the way back.
That was
California.
Crazy. That was crazy. I still don't know how you did that by yourself.
By myself. So 3,500 miles. The people that were so lovely who hosted me, old friends, new friends.
Yeah. So that's the craziest part, that you had like people to stay with like along the way to like kind of capture each part of that journey. I can't imagine having to do that entire stretch and like staying like a motel and be like completely by yourself the entire time.
Oh my God. I mean, imagine look, the coolest thing about doing a cross country road trip is you're seeing more of the country than you will see in your life, right? Mm-hmm. In 5 days, I saw more of the country than I probably will see in the rest of my life, like just in that condensed amount of time. So you're right. It's a lot that you're taking in as you're traveling. So having people there that are just, very hospitable. It was like a lot of old friends from India from days past. Some friends from the US as well, some DC friends, but some like family acquaintances that said randomly that they would host me. I hadn't even met some of them, and they fully hosted me, made food, made sure I was like taken care of, just to make sure that I was rested and on the road. I was on the road driving like 6 to 8 hours a day. That last stretch was like 10 hours. At one point it said like 500 miles, just stay on this road. And I was like, what? That's like, it's a harrowing journey. And I didn't really do it with somebody. But yeah, so really it's been challenging, but it's been really lovely. I've really loved every second of this year, to be honest.
Awesome. So the way that I've, kind of been looking at my life, and the way that I would love to describe it is a ship at sea, and most ships have some sort of direction in which that they're trying to go, but I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere with the option to go in any which direction that I choose. So that's kind of, where I am currently in my life. I kind of feel I'm at this crossroads where I have built up a lot of experience through the years. New York is honestly a really good way to challenge myself, to get out of my comfort zone. I know that I will be able to make it work, but I don't want this to be just like an experience that's, oh, I went to New York and I had to like hustle my way to make it there. I want it to be, a more gratifying experience, in terms of being able to find more people who are in tune with the types of creative projects that I'm trying to get into. I've been telling you about trying to work on, finding my voice, improving like my singing skills, just getting into the whole music side of things, and also establishing myself as a dancer. That was something that I used to recall myself as back in the day, but now it seems like a distant memory. And it was so awesome because when I recently went to India, I had the opportunity to perform at my grandparents' 50th anniversary. It was a huge function that they did, and I'm so thankful that I got to be a part of it. But I had the opportunity to dance and sing for our family members, the audience, and realizing that this is where I feel my high. So I've been trying to chase that high again, and I feel like that's going to be a great opportunity for me to better understand which direction that my ship is going to be sailing in. So really excited to embark on this new journey, especially having you as a kind of a comfort, to know that we have
there's
each
a metaphor
other.
waiting to be said, as in
Anchor. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There we go.
So that's it's all lining up perfectly, and I know it's all going to end up working out for the best. But just realizing I'm grateful that I have this time to be able to just sit with my thoughts, and realize where I am, and where I'm trying to go. Because I know it's not going to be easy. Nothing's going to be handed to me. I know I'm going to have to work for it. But it's being in love with the work, because you know that it's going to result in something bigger than you could have ever imagined. So, just like this podcast, we'd be putting in that work, because
we'd be putting in that work. But here's a transition waiting to happen. I feel like a lot of people have not been putting in that work based on the content we have been watching, dude. My God. So obviously we've been watching a lot of stuff, and that's why we're doing a recap episode as our first episode of this mid-season offering. But it feels like the state of Indian TV right now is a little mixed, right? There's a lot of stuff coming out. There are more platforms than ever. There's Prime, Netflix, Hotstar, which is now like Hulu, and Disney Plus in India, I guess. But then there's also all these like smaller platforms that aren't as popular in the US, with us at least, right? Sony Live or whatever else. There's a lot of content out there. And so with a lot of content comes a lot of misses as well. Some hits, but a lot of misses. And unfortunately, today we will be covering a lot of these misses. Do you have any thoughts generally about the state of Indian TV right now?
I'm glad that we have an opportunity for, some breakout performers and actors to shine through some of this, series that we're going to cover later on in the episode. That doesn't make the trash that we've also been given any better, right? It doesn't relieve the pain, because at the end of the day, you can go to a theater and watch a bad film and be done with it in 2 hours. But a lot of these shows are much longer, and having to put up with that honestly seems much more of a daunting and unrewarding task.
Yeah, let's get into it. I haven't been doing that, actually. I haven't been finishing these shows.
Yep. The first show that you weren't able to make it through, and I don't blame you at all, is Karda, a show starring Tamanna, that's come out on Amazon Prime.
Yes. So this show is about a group of friends that have known each other since elementary school. They've remained friends since then. It's set in 2022, but it goes back and forth with the intervening years. So there's flashbacks. And we learn about their relationships, how they became friends, what the intricacies are. So when they were friends, how the dynamic then defines the dynamic today, who loves whom, who was interested in whom, and then didn't work out with them, who ended up with whom and why, and how it all came to be. And this show attempts to be this like cool hep story about these upper middle class slash Mumbai elite people, but it is very confusing what they perceive to be an accurate representation of these characters and the lives that they live versus how it actually comes across, right? So, like, just a quick, what did you think of the show?
So I tend to give shows more of a chance. In the beginning was a little bit rough when we were watching together, and you dropped off a little bit earlier than me. But it just becomes a little bit harder to stay put with a show that doesn't seem to have like a major backbone, and mainly because there wasn't a lot of context given for a lot of the emotions that the main characters were feeling, right? They do these flashbacks that kind of are supposed to give you like some context about why these kids are acting the way that they are in adults, but struggles to bridge those in the storytelling, because it just seems so extreme at times, right? And so it's just like simple things like that kind of like irk me. And it's like, the other issue is that it's only 30 minutes long, and part of me is
Each
glad
episode, right?
each
Yeah, each
episode is 30
episode is
minutes
30
long.
minutes. Yeah.
And so I'm, in a way, maybe if they extended it and gave more light to each one of these characters, and showing more of their relationships, to give them that emotional backing. But then again, I don't trust this show to do that, and in a way, I'm thankful that they only give us 30 minutes, because they spared us from what could have been torture.
Yeah, I mean, like you summed it up, right? In terms of how the story feels disjointed, that comes from the insincerity of the show in general, right? It's disjointed because everything that they're trying to do in terms of character development, in terms of plot, in terms of addressing a social issue through a character, all of it feels insincere. It feels like they're doing it as a means to an end. They're doing it to make a point about that thing, as opposed to exploring it without an expectation of the point that they're trying to make. Just explore through the character what someone's truth is when they are genuinely going through something, whether it is a challenge with their sexuality, whether it is someone's love life, whether it is someone's disjointed familial relationship, how they've settled because they got married, whatever you are exploring, do it with some sense of sincerity and don't try to push so hard on a narrative, right? It feels like it's like fake love, fake relationships, the queer baiting. They also give them fake jobs. Like a lot of these people genuinely don't seem like real people. And it's really, really funny. I have to say, where my first red flag with the show was in that first episode when she walks in and they all get drunk together. And that you learn that they're all friends and besties. And she suddenly gets on top of a table and goes, Shadi is the best thing ever. Nah, they're celebrating their like best friend's like third wedding anniversary, which is already a little quirky. And she's just like standing up on the table and she's like, Shadi is the best thing ever. And that's how we're supposed to know that she's like drunk and wasted. But it's supposed to be this tender but like quirky moment, and I just was like, ick.
And then she gets proposed to right after that.
Right after she gets proposed to,
and it's like,
supposed to be a real proposal, but she's not feeling great. It's just like, why does all of this feel so fake?
Yeah.
And then the rest of the show, I didn't even bother watching because I know you watched the rest of the show.
Exactly.
Speaking of bad Tamana performances, we also watched Lust Stories 2.
You want
to talk about Lust Stories 2?
Yeah, so this is just a series of short films. It's coming off of the success of Lust Stories 1, which had 4 phenomenal short stories by 4 different directors that explore sexuality in different relationships within India. So this was supposed to be its sequel, with 4 different directors, R. Balki, Konkana Sen Sharma, Sujoy Ghosh, and Amit Sharma, who all explore their versions of lust. In my opinion, there was only really one, kind of standout performance and short film. The other kind of, uh, being worth a watch, and the other two kind of just mind-boggling. And so let's just go in
we
order.
say this all the time about like the talent behind some stuff, and when we watch some stuff, we're like, how did this happen? You can give me a shitty camera and like 10 minutes to write a script right now, and I can come up with a better film than one of these films in the list. But let's go through them.
Yep. So do you want to start off with the R. Balki one? First film directed by R. Balki, stars Neena Gupta and Mrinal Thakur. Neena Gupta plays the grandmother to Mrinal Thakur, who is about to get married, but has a dent in her relationship because her grandmother pesters her about her sex life, asking her if he fits the bill. So that was a crazy plot. I mean, I've never seen something like that, and I was excited that they were going to explore it in an interesting way, but that kind of really just summarizes what the entire film is about.
The families are having a conversation, and the grandmother, who has never once asked up until that point her granddaughter about her sex life, about anything that is taboo for that matter, right? Suddenly blurts out this thing, and it's supposed to be a shocking moment. It's not so much that like you can't talk about this without that shock value comedy. They're more obsessed making a point about this thing, and it's like she keeps talking about how after she asks about it in that meeting, she keeps bringing it up over and over again with no explanation, with a lot of like obsession, right? It's like a singular thing. She keeps going like she keeps going test drive karna hai. Like it's just like all these really weird metaphors about like
Mount Fuji hua.
It's like they never say the word orgasm. They never actually say the word like, penis or vagina. Like if you're going to talk about these things, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to say them with confidence, but for a character, for someone who's seemingly very confident about this suddenly, she's really still struggling to say all these words. So it's like all of these really, really like inconsistent ways to express an idea. It's not a panacea, right? Like the whole claim the film is making is that if your sex life is healthy in a marriage, then what? You're suddenly much more happy in your marriage. You're less. Is that the argument? Okay, if that is the argument that they're making, then explore what causes a marriage to have an unhealthy sex life in the first place.
Right? Yeah, like if Neena Gupta explained like how her relationship maybe was not as strong when like the sex wasn't as strong, right?
But they didn't even say that. They actually say her sex life was always strong, right? Like that's the claim that she makes. She goes, me and your Dadu and I used to go at it, is kind of what she's telling her granddaughter. And it's like, but how did you raise your son to be such a prude? Like if you had such a healthy sex life in your own household, then how did your son turn out to be this prudish
in your
guy?
Family? Yeah.
Right? So clearly you did something wrong. There's no exploration of that. She's just like advice giving the whole time. And where I lost it, the first red flag for me was when she was like, test drive karna hai. She's like saying you have to test drive the marriage by having sex before getting married. Great, fine, funny. I also lost it when she's like sitting with Mrinal and she's going, and Mrinal's like so uncomfortable. She's like, ha. And Neena Gupta is like, kar sakte ho. Kar sakte ho. And it's so creepy. It's like, what is going on? I completely, though, lost it when she, in the end, is sitting with the two of them on the swing. And she goes, ek dusre ko addict ban jao. She's like, you have to be addicted to each other in order for this marriage to work. And it's like confusing every idea about love, every idea about passion, every idea about lust. It's just like throwing all of that into a ninja magic bullet, and it's like this is the whole thing.
You're supposed to drink whatever it is and
exactly. Live with it. Thank you for carrying that metaphor out. You're supposed to take that kashayam and like pour it down your throat or what? Like, what is going on? Worst thing I've watched in a long time. And Bulky is known for this kind of bullshit too, right? Like every time, we were discussing this earlier, like his film Shamitab or his film like Padman, like it always takes this one issue and then just
blows it out of proportion.
Oh my god! Every character feels not real. It feels like more. It's like clearly you have a point of view, man. But my god, how self-obsessed are you that you think your point of view is that much more important than actual good storytelling? Ugh. So not great.
Yeah, brings us shame to that. But thankfully, we do have a highlight in the short film series in Konkana's directorial, where we actually get to see a unique kind of relationship between an upper class elite played by Tilotoma Shome and her maid played by Amrita Subhash, where Tilotoma basically catches Amrita having sex with her husband, but instead of lashing out in the beginning, she actually just hides in silence and watches and is enjoying it. And there's a point when Amrita, the maid, finds out, and they're both acknowledging the fact that they both know, but they're not going to talk about it. So it explores this really interesting idea where it's like, yes, the maid works for the boss, but they also enjoying this little secret that they have, and they're kind of being able to, I guess, explore different parts of their sexuality or what pleases them in another way, because there aren't very many opportunities that you get to do that. How do you talk about that in a respectable manner, right? And they eventually get caught, and how Tilotoma handles the situation obviously is by blaming the maid, and she works there, right? So she gets fired by her boss. I loved how they actually ended everything in a bow, and they come meet each other again after everything's happened, and she's like, "Kahan pe aa jao?" She's like, "Huh? Parso aa jao." So it's back to normal. So I really, really love that exploration.
It explores voyeurism, right? Which is different than if you were to explore a sexual preference where the person was actively participating with another person. It explores sexual pleasure through the eyes of someone who is just enjoying watching two other people engage in an activity. And I feel like that's what I loved so much about it, where they don't shy away from the griminess of how voyeurism interacts with the class power dynamic, interacts with the infidelity. Like, you don't really get to see what went wrong in the relationship. And that's, I think, the beauty of a short film in general, and its ability to kind of illustrate something and kind of just breathe at you. Right? It's just sort of like there's a breath, and you kind of like feel this gust of wind, and then you're done. So it gives you a little flavor.
You think about that wind after you're gone. It's like, oh shit, that actually was hella nice. You think about where it came from.
Gets you,
where
it oils your mind a little bit. It like lubricates that thing in you where you're like, the ideas have been introduced just subtly enough in your head where you suddenly go, oh, this is taking me places. I'm curious. I'm stimulated. And that's kind of the highest point of this short film series, right? Because after that, it takes an absolute deep nosedive. Before recovering a little bit more. This is somehow worse than short film Mount Fuji. This is the Sujoi Ghosh segment starring Tamanna Bhatia and Vijay Varma, who are dating in real life. And what do they say? They say, do not cast people who are actually fucking in real life, because if you want them to fuck on screen or look like they have chemistry on screen, that is not going to work. And that is exactly playing out in this dumbass short film. It deals with Vijay Varma, who's like this business exec who's on the road when his car breaks down. It breaks down in the middle of nowhere, and he needs to find something to do in the meantime. And he meets this mysterious woman that he may or may not have known from a past life. And he's like, can't be. And turns out he does know her. And so what happens when he actually does make contact with her makes up the rest of the film. Obviously, spoiling this, The woman turns out to be a partner slash wife. I'm not sure if it's clear. I think it's just partner from a previous life, played by Tamanna Bhatia, who has clearly gone missing from his life and has been missing for the last 10 years. So they're meeting again for the first time in 10 years. They
It
rekindle
was
that
the same
relation.
life, I believe. It was a
No,
relationship.
past life, not like metaphysically
Oh, like
past life
spiritual.
from.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no,
okay.
not spiritual.
Yeah.
Literally just from 10 years
Yeah, yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, got you,
Um,
got you.
that he re-engages. Turns out this is a partner from before, and she went missing after a point of time. And he's like, "Why did you go missing?" Before we even get into how like this progresses and it ends, this starts with a CGI road and a CGI car that Vijay Varma is sitting in. Right? It's like, bro, how hard is it for you to go to a village and
Oh my
just
god.
drive
I'm so
like
excited
a regular car?
to like make a reel out of this where we're just like showing the aerial shot of him like in his car just like driving like that itself it, like is the most off-putting thing ever
Infuriating.
because they're
Yeah.
trying to go for like this like thriller horror kind of esque vibe off the get-go, but because it's so poorly done all you can do is laugh. So like from the beginning you're just like all bearings are lost, or like, okay, like
Yeah.
where do you go from here? And then the fact that it ends kind of like in a supernatural way.
It's clearly building on something and it's the unsaid. Like something is wrong and you get to feel it, right? But the
Yeah.
emphasis is not on that thrilling part. It's on personal relationships. And of course, it is lust stories. So obviously there's an element of sex and physical attraction here. But my God, when I knew, look, like it's fine. Narratively, CGI, all of these things are bad. Where I absolutely lost it is when they actually have sex. And I was like,
Yeah.
you guys look so unsexy having sex. Oh my
Yeah.
God. You know,
It's
actually,
like,
that is something that is consistently bad in all of the 4 short films, I feel. Where
yeah.
for a series called Lust Stories 2, they
Yeah.
really do
The
not know how to
portrayal
film
of,
sex.
yeah.
And we don't even have to get into whether the twist works or anything, right? Because in the end, you realize that she's a ghost. Maybe he's also a ghost, and he tried to kill her, but she shows up anyway. So that's how you know she's a ghost. And it's like, that's all fine. But where does he have this realization? On that CGI road, bro. And it's like, I can't
As
focus.
he's going back, he's like sees another version of himself like in a car accident, and then it's just like he sees Tamanna come out of nowhere with like a little like black strip in between her teeth that's supposed to denote like her demonic behavior or something like that, and then that's it.
It's just,
So
it's a
if you're looking
lot.
for
It's
like a
not good.
good laugh, and to be able to like make fun of something, then please like go ahead and watch this. But for no other reason should you be turning this on.
Absolutely
Um,
not. Which takes us to
um,
that final film, which I do
final,
think you should watch. So if you're gonna watch 2 of the 4, please watch the Konkona Sen Sharma short and
the Amit
also
Sharma.
Amit Sharma short.
Yep,
Do you
yep,
want to
yep,
talk
yep.
about the short?
Yes, sir.
Give us a
So
summary.
yeah, quick summary. Basically, Kamod Mishra plays the king of this palace.
He's
A
also like
drunkard.
kind of a former
Uh,
royal. He's like a bit of a like this is a fading
yeah. He's like
royalty.
in debt basically, and he's like not able to deal with that properly. In comes Kajol, who is his queen, his wife, or whatever, but also previously was a sex worker. So it explores, like their relationship and how he basically doesn't treat her as a wife.
He uses his power in Rajasthan in a rural town to essentially subjugate women and overpower them with his royal status because they can't do
Yeah,
anything about
yeah,
it. And so this explores her abuse in his hands, her son being also caught in between this, and also her ability to free both of them from the clutches of
their
this man,
father, her
but
husband. Yeah.
how she fails eventually. Don't
Yeah, I
think
just thought
that
Kajol's performance, I think, was like every time
was
she's on
really good.
screen is like she's captivating, and so that was like a reason that was it was fun to watch, just to see her, put on that performance. But yeah, a performance can only take you so far if the writing is poor. So
That
quite
brings us to the
unfortunate.
end of Less Stories 2. Watch it. I think it's actually worth watching. This next show, do not watch. We already covered a little bit of it on episode 4, Night Manager, the remake of the British TV series starring Tom Hiddleston, and the Hindi version starring Aditya Roy Kapoor, Anil Kapoor, and Shobita Dalipala. The back end, the last 3 episodes were released because for whatever reason they were like, we're gonna do that in June. We watched it, and it was worse than the first 4 episodes. So, just to recap, this is about Aditya Roy Kapoor plays a hotelier who has faced tragedy at the hands of this industrialist war criminal played by Anil Kapoor, and has infiltrated Anil Kapoor's camp and is going to take him down from the inside, right? Yo, like, it's just like the inability to make something with some tact and
Yep.
some finesse and
That's
some just cool qualities is what's killing me. And like in a spy thriller,
but the main character is the exact opposite of what you would expect him to be in something like this. Like, unfortunately, Aditya Roy Kapoor is, apart from his good looks, doesn't seem to have anything else going for him. Because
in this show, at least, like, I don't know about
yeah.
anything else, but like in this show, he's supposed to be this like cool, calm, collected spy, and all you see is this like sheepish face who's like in the middle of an arms deal. He's like asking about the time or the coffee or the temperature. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the most mundane. The way he asked that question is like, ugh. But here's a list of things that like is wrong with this show. That refrain of that girl falling from that building,
falling
that he's
down
trying
again
to
and
avenge
again and again,
over and over again,
every single episode. Yeah, that was
Himmy and I
tough to
bet
watch.
that last episode. I was like, dude, I don't think they're gonna do it again, just because I believe that they take that final episode seriously. They've shown it to us 6 times already. What are the odds that he won? Himmy won because they did show it to us within like 10 seconds of that episode starting, just to make sure we're all on the same page, guys. She did fall from that building. They don't even like cut it out or do it in slow motion. They do the whole thing, and she actually falls on a dumpster with a huge thud and falls to the ground. It's so brutal. And for what? But where I lost it, and where you also lost it, was where we were like watching the arms deal go down, right? Shelly or Anil Kapoor, whose performance, by the way, excellent. He's so good at what he does.
He
and
carries the show.
Best, best part of the show.
He carries a show.
Every time he's on screen, you feel incredible about the show because he's just like menacing and knows how to take it from 0 to 100 and knows how to play with his voice and his expression and his presence.
Yeah, you're incredible. Scared of him, you know.
Genuinely, and he gets to shine. He has a couple of really like crazy psycho scenes where he gets to exhibit his psychotic tendencies.
Yeah.
But they're doing a weapons demonstration for a prospective buyer, and first of all, they're in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, there are no satellites here. It's like, okay, dead zone, great. But somehow they've amassed an entire army to show up there, and they are actually expending lives like doing the demonstration. You can fully see like 2 warring parties and armies shooting each other to do a weapons demonstration. They're actually like going to war, and it escalates so much to the point where like they have scorched earth. Like, these people are watching tanks go down because they're going from like guns to artillery to like actual machinery, and they're sending,
it seemed like real people were dying. Like,
real people were dying, and it just like at one point it's just like bright light in the back, and it's like bombs are being dropped, and these guys are just chilling watching this shit go down. And the whole time they have these like wide shots, right, to show you the spectacle. On the corner of your screen, you can see these like belly dancer types who are unfazed, and they've been told, hey, you are the entertainment. You have to entertain these men who have come to see this demonstration. Dance away. You're going to see some shit go down. Like, some people die. Stuff is going to explode. You're going to feel the heat. Never stop dancing. And they don't. Like, every time the stakes are raised a little bit more, you're like, they're still dancing. They're entertaining these guys. I was like, how is this possible?
Yeah, that was definitely tough to see, because you're trying to show the seriousness of a situation, and for people who like really watch shows scene for scene, and where each scene is actually supposed to be like a gift, and you're supposed to be encapsulating like the story and the gravity of the situation. It's just such a turnoff for, you know, what exactly the show is supposed to be. It's this action thriller where you're supposed to be invested. You can't have your your audience like laughing, you know, 90% of the time through the episode. You know, give them props for trying, but you know, it's tough. One, because it's a remake, right? And if you are trying to remake something that already exists, you have to make it the performances and the writing even more special, which you know, I think Shobita and Anil held up their side of the bargain, but Aditya Roy Kapoor was lackluster, and even Tilotama, she was phenomenal. Like her performance, honestly, was really really good. Like I felt
she's having a run right now. She's like she's suddenly everywhere. I didn't even know who she was at the start of this year, and she's like in everything now.
Yeah. So I'm really happy for her, and they're excited for her. But yep,
I know you also wanted to talk about a show that I haven't seen.
Yep, Cat. So yeah, I'll get it. I'll get into
Cat.
That. But yeah, it's a show on Netflix. Came out last year, and I wish I'd seen it sooner. But you know, I'm excited to talk about it now because it's in the context of in the 1990s in Punjab. And so it really gives you a feel for what the state was like at that time. It's, you know, known for struggling with corruption and drug abuse. So it really puts in perspective all of those things. But the real reason why I love this show so much is because it's actually bingeable. And that's something that I haven't had from a show in a really long time, where I want to keep watching, right? Where each episode kind of leaves you in that like, oh, wait, what's going to happen next? You know? So basically it's, you know, Randeep Hooda plays Gurnam Singh. And, you know, in Punjab, Cat basically denotes a, you know, undercover agent put by the police to help bring to light drug dealings or corruption that's happening in the area. And so he's forced to play a cat again to get his brother out of trouble. And basically the entire time, like, you actually don't know like what's going to happen to him, right? Because he's, you know, trying to work his way up to the main antagonist, which is Madam Olak. And so he's basically trying to get into her party. She's a political leader, and he's, you know, finding ways to maneuver her army of people to climb up the ranks, to end up, you know, finally being her right-hand man. This is a good example of where flashbacks in a show are really well used, because they articulate how basically Gurnam's parents are killed when he's a kid. As you're moving along through the show, there's more and more scenes as he learns about the real cause of his parents' death and how that actually translates to his actions in real time in the present moment, right? And how he's like dealing with this like dichotomy of like, am I doing the right thing? Is this really what's best for me, right? So
dude, yeah, that's what I actually really loved. I really agree with what you said about like the way to use flashbacks is to progress that character in the present and make enough decisions with them at the forefront for you to be curious, to be like, but why would they do something like that, and then take you back, be like, here's why, and then bring you back, and then they're changing, and then they're faced with more challenges, and then they make more decisions that are more intriguing, and then you take them back even more.
Exactly. So that's, you know, what I really love the most is through the last episode, you actually don't know what's going to happen to Gurnam, Madam Olak, the other, you know, pivotal side characters that are there as well. And that's truly why I would highly recommend you add this to the top of your watch list on Netflix, because it is 100% worth your time.
Yeah, and of the four that we just covered, is probably like the best one.
Oh, easily,
Right? Like by far, and I haven't even watched it, so maybe I should go back and watch it too.
Yeah. No. This is my main pitch to you to go.
Yeah. You're really just talking to me. Everyone else.
Yeah. Everyone else is just secondary.
Yeah.
But getting into another really good show that we both saw together. I'm so happy we got to see this together. Dahaad.
Yes. It is produced by Rima Kakti, created by Rima Kakti and Zoya Akhtar and Tiger Baby Productions, which is their company, starring
Rima
Sonakshi
Kakti
Sinha.
is, sorry, I was just gonna say Rima Kakti is also the one who made Talash.
But it stars Sonakshi Sinha, Gulshan Devaya, Vijay Varma, and Soham Shah, who, by the way, is a standout. I want Soham Shah to get. He's like a newcomer. He played that police inspector.
Talash, Fargi.
Yeah, Fargi. He kept surprising me with every episode. I was like, what? What a find. Incredible find. Basically, the show has Sonakshi Sinha at the center. She plays a sub-inspector, Anjali Pati, from a small town in Rajasthan. A lot of Rajasthan representation in this lineup right here. But she's the only woman at the police station that she works at, and is also from a lower caste. And she is faced with a series of cases involving mysterious disappearances of women that no one else at that police station seemingly care about. But when they are treated as isolated incidents by everyone but her, she feels the need to start threading the needle and kind of takes over the case and builds enough of a reason for the rest of the police station to also take it more seriously. And she finds that these isolated cases are actually a series of murders committed by a serial killer. Which
Varma.
And the most interesting thing about this investigative thriller is that it's dramatic irony, right? We are in on the fact that he's a serial killer almost from episode one, nearly from episode one. We kind of basically know that this guy is there. So it makes it that much more interesting because you are not rooting for him, but you're very curious to see how long it takes for them to catch him and how long he can escape their clutches, right? It even gets to a high point in the show, which I thought was actually the high point in the show, because it kind of drops off toward the end there, not by much, but it does drop off a little bit. The high point is in the middle where they do have an interaction, and she does find that he may be the biggest suspect in the case and has to let him go, unfortunately, because she doesn't have probable cause to arrest him. Dude, I thought Sonakshi was excellent. This is like a career-defining performance.
Her best performance for sure.
Yeah. She plays this like incredibly strong woman who is coming up against all of these forces in patriarchal India, including her own mother, the complicated relationship they have. The reason the Vijay Varma is going after these women in the first place is because they fit the bill for the ideal victim in his mind, right? They're all in their late 20s. They're from a lower caste. They're unmarried, right? Which makes them and their missing case that much of a lower priority for the Indian, already underfunded Indian rural police force. So he goes after them and no one comes looking for them. And so by having this inspector who goes after this case and is the only one who believes that this isn't just an isolated incident, be a woman, be someone from a lower caste, be someone that is unmarried, right? Is incredible, right? As like a sort of like duality. It's not some like unspoken destiny for someone who's part of patriarchal society, but also has these circumstances of being unmarried in their late 20s and from a lower caste. They are not doomed by society. They can beat the system. They are not victims of the system. And those who are benefiting from that system, which is mostly upper caste men who are Hindu, need to also fight back because they're either active participants within the system, or if they don't say anything and they're bystanders, or are actively harming people who are victims of the system, they have to fight back. And that's where you get Gulshan Devaya, who's also amazing.
Yeah, he is like one of my favorite like performances of the show in the show, because he's, you know, more forward than obviously all the other inspectors that are out there. He understands what it means to put your women forward. He has a daughter who he wants to make independent. His wife doesn't want her to go on a school trip. But he's, they argue over that because he realizes the importance of having them be on their own and grow on their own and to be independent. Having an open conversation about sex with his son, who
It's like
is
sex education is like
right,
such a beautiful moment where he actually just sits him down. It's so simple. He just
yeah,
opens the line of communication. He's like, at your age, all of this happens.
it's normal.
If it's normal,
He's not like
you should talk to
scolding
me about
you
it.
or like, yeah,
It's
exactly.
not
And so
shaming
that,
him.
yeah. That was like a huge turning point. And it made me like have so much more appreciation because that does not happen, especially in like brown families. Like I've yet to hear about such an open conversation that someone has with their dad about,
I mean,
intercourse. So
like in particular in rural India, right? Like this is not some urbanite. This is some guy in a small town.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are all small town communities. And so it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's so interesting though? That inspector, there's a little bit of a shady potential there. You get to see that he's in fact really into Bhatti. He's into Sonakshi Sinha, right?
Yeah.
So in these marital problems and his involvement in the case could also involve his interest in Bhatti. He's not just like some good Samaritan who's like pure and the savior. There's also like this
exactly.
Human, a little grimy human interest in Sonakshi. So no one's pure, right? Like everyone's kind of having their own demons and making choices.
Yeah, and I really like that idea because it kind of speaks like to the duality of the patriarchy, where it's like most men would prefer a woman who just stays at home and like takes care of like her kids or whatever, right? But like he's actually attracted to someone who's quite the exact opposite, who's like extremely like overly independent, just feels like she doesn't need anybody.
Yeah, but that's interesting that you look at it as like a good thing, because in my head I thought the show was like kind of hinting at like how he's actually being unfaithful in some sense.
No, 100%, like 100%. I don't think it's like,
and the power dynamic, because he is her boss.
Yeah, so that makes it even like complicated for sure. The fact that he's already like married means that it's basically like a no-go, right? If something had happened, then I think that would have made like him for surely be like a way more complex like situation. But I don't think it's completely like the worst thing in the world to be attracted to somebody else.
No.
Like,
this is not again, none of this, the reason this show is excellent is because there really isn't any like clear moral judgment on the core characters.
Yeah.
Like everyone else in the fringe, especially Soham Shah, dude. Like I loved that guy's relationship.
His performance
exploration
was
incredible. He has that one moment where he has a panic attack, and he goes
like on the scooter on the top of the mountain,
and the top of the mountain
falls out.
Oh my god! And really, it's because he is so worried about bringing a child into this world. But then the way that comes out in this relationship is his disinterest, and he ends up becoming a bad husband. And he's like,
yep. So it's like kind of the opposite, right? Where it's like you see someone as a male father who's done such a great job, but then it's his feelings are also Soham's feelings are also valid because he's like growing up dealing with all these like murder cases of like women who are and it's like that fear of like, oh my god, like that could be my daughter.
What is this world, and why are we bringing children into it? Right? Why are we bringing babies into this world? And it's crazy too, because it all comes down to choices. And this is what I think is good storytelling at its core, is about putting characters in a position where they have to overcome an obstacle and they have choices that they have to make, right? And each choice makes sense for who they are. So the more you learn about them, the more their choices make sense to you, right?
Yeah.
And the harmony of that, when that is all making sense in the story and being communicated effectively, you are locked in because you're invested. You understand them, and you understand that like what they are doing isn't maybe the right thing, maybe is the wrong thing, but you get that it makes sense for who they are. Right? So you can't even judge, because you go, your life is, these are the cards, life is thrown at you and you've been handed, and this is what you have to overcome. But it's choices at the end of the day. That's what Dahaad does well. Everyone's faced with a bunch of choices, and even this is Vijay Varma's like best performance too,
Yeah,
I think.
easily. He's
Right?
the one person that
Holy, I mean, especially
like,
coming from like lust stories, like this is what he's capable of, really, right? Like
yeah,
if you want to talk
like
about like
Darlings was kind of like his like entry like point where he did a great job as like an antagonist in an abusive relationship. But this
this
takes
is
it to a
that taken
whole
to
nother level. Yeah, where like the part that I like loved so much, and I feel like he can do this, where he walks between this thin line of, okay, yeah, he's a serial killer, but like he's so normal and vested into society where it's
he
like,
blends right in, and he's
wait, like,
you can
is
he
it
doesn't, yeah.
mhm.
And
Is
did you
it that
realize the
easy?
shirts that he was wearing, they had all these scales, so he looked
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
snake.
Yeah. Because I was watching some interview and they were saying that like he was like kind of reptilian in nature, right? Where you like kind of slither
Yeah.
around, right? Where he's like this guy that can like creep up, when he needs to, but then like also just like move amongst the shadows.
Yeah, and
And it
like
was
how
great.
he uses kind of like therapy speak, right, to get these women. Like he kind of tells them what they want to
Mhm.
hear. He
Yeah,
plays it to perfection.
exactly.
Like every time you're watching
Yeah.
him, like if you're just watching him there with no context for the rest of the stuff, you'll go, "Oh God, like this is quite believable." And that's the
Mhm.
scary part, because even I mean, like even that first episode where he does that first pickup of a girl and she kind of rejects him, right? He pulls up to the bus stop.
Yeah.
I
The bus stop.
genuinely,
Yeah.
bro, I thought that was like someone he actually knew.
Yeah, he knew.
And that
Yeah,
is the thing, right? We
exactly.
even paused it and we are like, wait, what's going on? Does he know
Yeah.
her? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he does. He plays a professor. He plays someone in higher
Mhm.
education. He plays someone with a
Mhm.
job. He plays someone
He
he's
teaches
involved
like
in charity,
like
right? He's
volunteer
basically
works and
driving around in a
for
van
yeah,
teaching
exactly.
kids, like, parai siksha, like he's doing free
Mhm.
education. And it's so fascinating because it's that same cover that he uses to hide all of the he like
His
serial killers keep,
nefarious activities.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they hold on to trinkets,
Um
right? They like hoard stuff. So it's where he hides them and like drives around all of Rajasthan. And it
mhm.
was interesting too, because there is another element here of his how he was raised. Because you get to see, it's kind of like the uh, Kajol short, right? It's this Rajasthani royal family maybe that he's from, like, or elite, like aristocracy that he's from. And his
Mhm.
dad is like,
Yeah, is
right? They
like
say
full
that
of him.
Vijay Varma's
Yeah.
serial killer transition happens when when
Yeah.
he's traumatized by witnessing his dad kill his mom.
Mhm.
And so like
Yeah.
you kind of get to explore how the man is made in some sense, or like
Mhm.
how he ends up being who he is. Incredible,
Yeah.
incredible show. 100% recommend. I honestly really, really wish Sonakshi the best. Like she said in an interview, she said like, I didn't even know I could do this, right? Like Rima Kakti had to see that in me before I could see it in myself, right? And
Yeah.
that's what I want for all of these talented people who are getting just shit opportunities, like Tamanna
Mhm.
included, to be honest, right? Like I just think like she picked the wrong projects. I do think she has potential to be
Yeah.
better than she
Yeah.
was in these
No,
projects.
definitely. I think Sonakshi had a standout, performance that goes credits to the writers, right? Which is why I think it was so well done, and why they're able to layer all of these like issues that are so relevant in India today so like seamlessly, right? Because
Mm.
and I think that's why that show is so good, is because it speaks to an India of today. Although it's like set, in a rural, as you mentioned, rural India, these are the issues that are still
Yeah,
prevalent
yeah. I
in
mean,
today's
it's like
society,
as
right?
technology become, I mean, like the reason it's so hard for them to find this guy is because he honestly uses technology to his absolute advantage. Like one of his victims
Yeah.
isn't even in Rajasthan, right?
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah. They
it's
moved to
wild.
like Kerala like together, and
Goa,
like
Goa.
different, yeah, Goa, and but she's like from Kerala, and so
Yeah, she's like
they're
Lallu
like
girl.
meeting all these different kinds of people, and so it
Yeah.
explores this really well. I did think, that my only like, I guess, like little criticism, I guess, like they maybe could have wrapped this up in like 6 episodes,
Probably.
maybe a little bit too long, but and the I know we talked about how like the suspense, or knowing that Vijay Varma was like the killer from the get-go, like allows you a lot of room to like explore some other issues. I wish that they maybe had held off a little bit longer, and maybe kept that line a little bit more blurred, to keep like the suspense going a little bit more, for a thriller show, right? Because at the end of the day,
Agreed.
already felt like we already knew who it was, so it wasn't as much thrilling as it was like more like a social commentary.
Especially when I got the sense that the end wasn't going to be splashy, right? By episode 5, you're like, oh, it's going to kind of like whimper to an end, huh? And so that's tough. Comps, like for people to get like really excited, I feel like some of the comps that I'm thinking about are Anubhav Sinha. Like he has a lot of these type, like Article 15, for example, has the same tone as Dahaad. So if you really liked that, like investigative thriller, kind of rural crime, rural legend, this sort of like it happens in the shadows and like no one's paying attention, but it's these systems in play and its power. It reminded me honestly of Bong Joon-ho's like Memories of Murder, which if you haven't seen, you should really see. Also happening in rural Korea, and it's a bunch of women getting brutally murdered, and it's like kind of a dysfunctional, inept police force, and like some guy from the city comes in. It's almost exactly like Article 15, actually. So Article 15 probably just hella inspired by that. But I recently watched Memories of Murder after watching Dahaad, and I was like, oh my god, like tonality. This is like such a specific genre of investigative thriller, like crimes against women in a patriarchal society, in rural like Asian countries. Like, you know, it's like such a specific genre.
Very specific genre that they navigated completely perfectly. I think the only other thing that I could maybe suggest to make the show like easier to watch is maybe like break it up and like do like weekly episodes. I feel like Indian shows like don't really do that, where like, you know, have an episode every week, where it kind of forces you as, you know, the creator to make sure that there's enough of a hook for the audience to keep coming back, but also gives you that leeway to play around with episodes and do the kind of creativity that you want. Because when you're releasing 8 episodes together, most people are just going to watch in one quick succession, or they're going to want to like continue, have that bingeable aspect, right? Where it's like, okay, if I start episode 1, I want to finish the last episode as soon as possible, right? So
I mean, especially with all of these shows losing steam, right? Like that's been a big thing of like, I'm getting tired of getting like Rana Naidu's same fucking problem.
Exactly.
Like you get to around episode 4 and you're tired. You're like, when is this gonna pick up? Like Severance is an excellent example of this.
Because exactly.
They would do these weekly episodes, and every last 5 minutes you were like,
was like a cliffhanger where it's like, oh shit, I gotta not like, even keep in watching.
Like a baity way. I didn't feel baited into anything. I was like, oh my god, narratively, I'm like,
I genuinely want to know like what's gonna continue to happen, right? Yeah,
exactly.
So. Awesome.
We recapped all of that TV content for y'all. I am having such a good time watching Indian TV, even though it's mixed. Like for a show like Dahaad to come out of nowhere, I honestly didn't know Sonakshi was like in TV, right? Is why we watch all the crap, because on a good day, Dahaad just like is such an like that's what I'm gonna remember. April and May,
it's a gem
this year was
right.
Dahaad.
It's a gem that we get to talk about, promote, and encourage y'all to watch too. So you don't have to, rummage through the trash. We do it for you to find the treasures.
Yes, there we go. Oh, nice. Okay, so let's talk about what to look forward to. Again, we're doing our mid-season series. This is episode 1. We got 2 more episodes for you. Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani and Karan Johar. That is coming very soon. And we also have an episode when Jawan comes out in September. Shah Rukh, Atli making his Hindi debut, Vijay Sethupathi, Nayanthara.
We've been hyped for this for like a while.
The songs have been okay. They've been good, but it's just exciting to see this energy of South and North creatives, specifically Shah Rukh, Vijay Sethupathi, South Indian female superstar Nayanthara. Like this, the talent is staggering. I cannot wait to talk about that. I cannot wait to talk about the incredible success of Rocky Aur Rani. You have anything else to add?
All that coming very soon. Thank you all for tuning in. We love y'all deeply from the bottom of our hearts. So, continue to keep us in your hearts, and we will do the same. We'll see you very, very soon.
All right.
Peace.
Bye, folks.